225 degrees is the smoker. I put the brisket on at 40 degrees. It comes up to 140. What's interesting about barbecue, it'll go through this resistance. It'll be another 3 or 4 hours, and the temperature barely rises and get up to 160. And eventually, from here on up, 180 to 195, this is the pathway of the unfolding of butterfly in barbecue.
Okay.
So you got 4 different stages: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And so there's an enzyme called capsaicin in brisket that what you're trying to do is trigger that, and that'll trigger at 160, and that'll break down the connective tissue and make your brisket tender.
Okay.
All right. So basically, when I started looking at this pattern, I started seeing this. Well, this is the laws that govern the metamorphosis of butterflies. And so you got the egg over here, you got the caterpillar, the pupa, then you got the butterfly. All right. So I started seeing everything in these 4 different stages, and I started seeing everything separated by this 2 different systems. So here's the beginning of a system, and the metamorphosis to revealing the other system. So I started seeing this same concept in what I was doing with the homeless guys. I can get them out of shame, guilt, apathy, and grief pretty quick, just like barbecue. But when they get to the fear, their addictions.
That's where the resistance come in.
That's the resistance. And when I get them there, they don't want to move out of it because they're so much happier to get out of this toxic filter and get over here to this polluted filter. Okay, so polluted is better than toxic.
Yeah.
So the key is, how do we move them out of this over here? Well, in barbecue, you got to keep the heat on. So what I have to do with the guys in the shelter is I got to keep an intellectual differential experience. I got to take them through an intellectual differential experience. You remember the backwards bicycle? That's why I built the backwards bicycle.
Okay.
So I got around 65 different mental models that I take the guy through to get them out of this toxic polluted filters to what we call a clean and a pure filter.
Wow.
Okay, so a clean filter, well, intellectual differential, what it does is it triggers intuitiveness. If I can get you to intuitiveness, then you become curious. So curiosity leads to courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, and reason. Okay, so we call this a clean filter. And this is a pure filter. A pure filter is love, joy, peace, and enlightenment.
So happiness would be up there too then, right?
Well, happiness is actually over here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because they're happy in that area, yeah.
Because what happens in your addiction, you got dopamine. And so you got that dopamine, so you're happy over here in your resistance.
Okay.
So here's joy is different than happiness.
Okay,
All right,
I got
so what we're trying to do is raise the level. All right, so the question is there's 2 different systems. This is a top-down autocratic system where the head guy wears boots and spurs, and all the employees wear saddle, bridles, and bits.
And
All
the
right,
weapons.
Those are all weapons.
Those are all weapons.
All
okay.
weapons. And so basically that's how the system works, is through these weapons. And the only thing they can produce is a commodity out of that system.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea is to take, a lot of corporations are wanting to come over here and produce art, and the key is everybody has to take off the weapons. So this is the key, is that fundamentally, if what most people focus on is fixing apples when you should be fixing the apple barrel, the system. All right, so let's draw 2 barrels. These are apple barrels. Okay, so all systems have a dynamic balance. Like if you set the thermostat for 72 degrees, your air conditioner is set at 72. That's the dynamic balance, and everything self-regulates to make sure you match up that 72 degrees. So the dynamic balance of this system here is the customer's experience. All right, the dynamic balance in this system is compliance. Okay, the customer here is the hiring community. All right, the hiring community here are corporations or companies or whatever that want skills to create art. Okay, so basically this system here is unskilled before they come in. The apple's unskilled before they come in and come out skilled. Okay, the process here is that you got an unskilled apple coming in here, and the objective is they come out unskilled. This here is a public school.
Wow.
This is colleges. This is community colleges. So the dynamic balance, what they measure is compliance. The customer is the autocratic systems. Franchises or anybody that wants to tell somebody what to do, follow the script. Okay. The student here is the product, and the objective is to take this apple and this is a good apple barrel. And improve the apple, better apple, because they went through this. This apple here is a bad apple barrel. Okay, and the objective here is to create what we call a compliant, conforming trail horse who's willing to wear a saddle bridle a bit. Okay, so here the student is the product, but there's no producer of the product. The system itself is going to kill the captain of the ship. If a body and brain of the ship, it's going to kill the captain. Here, it saves the producer, which is the student, which is the captain. So the difference between this and this is that you got to kill the soul of the student.
Wow.
You got to turn the light switch off.
And keep him a trail horse.
You got to keep him a trail horse. You got to get him. You got to get him to be a marching band. All right. So who comes over here and hires this? Of course, is the military or factories, franchises, anybody that fundamentally wants an obedient, compliant, conforming human being. So the critical part of this is the captain of the ship. Is your inner essence, your soul. So here you work from your soul, working together, you can produce art.
Right.
Over here you can't have a soul, no soul, because you're producing a commodity out of the system. All right. So everybody's blaming the NRA or whatever for these criminal issues that's taking place in schools, but really what's causing it is the bad apple barrel that's creating the bad apples.
Wow.
All right, so here you think for yourself. The student thinks for themselves. Here, the system thinks on their behalf. The apple barrel thinks on the behalf of the student. So the key here is you got to create an apple that cannot think. Okay, so basically what happened in Florida, you have all these rotten apple barrels that we put that kid in, and eventually he reacted because of the barrel. Because when I go to the prisons, all the bad apples go to a bad apple barrel, the prison. And so what they come out is bad because 2/3 go back in 3 years, so it's a bad apple barrel.
Right.
So what I do is focus not on the apples, teaching the guys how to fix their own apple barrel while they're in, so they insulate themselves in a bad apple barrel.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so the key to solving problems is not to focus on the apples, it's to focus on the systems that's creating bad apples. Okay, so there was a school in Garland that we were taking veterans every 6 weeks would go through what was other schools to be an 18-month program. Over here we did a 42-day program. Okay, so instead of going to HVAC school for 18 months, you come to our school in 42 days, you graduate with skills.
Wow.
You go to an 18-month program, you get out and you had no skills. Okay, so the difference was over here, you think for yourself.
Right.
Over here, the system
Thinks for you.
Yeah, they tell you what to do. And they only test you for acquisition of knowledge instead of application.
Yes.
Over here is application, this is acquisition. All right, so all these students were veterans coming to this school. And every 42 days they were graduating, and guess what? They could actually fix the school, and their placement ratings was 82%, which is one of the highest in America.
Wow.
Okay, typical schools over here is less than 20% placement rating. Okay, all right, so the government back in September the 20th brought 60 FBI officers and shut down this school.
Oh.
And the reason they shut it down because it didn't look like this one. They never seen anything like that.
Wow.
And so that's where we that's why I came up with this idea, because the government is in business to maintain bad apple barrels.
Right.
Public schools, community colleges. And so they're focused on not producing, taking a bad apple and creating a great apple. They're focused on creating a bad apple for the purpose that they're going to wear a saddle bra on a bit. And I'm saying that job went to India or China, or they're being replaced with artificial intelligence, software, algorithms. So here, there's corporations that's going to want to produce art, but how are you going to produce art if you
got everybody from here?
Everybody in this system.
Can't do it.
You can't do it. So you got to tell Dwayne that this barrel is the problem. Quit blaming the NRA.
Or anybody else.
Yeah, you got to take, the government has to take responsibility. We created all these bad apple barrels because we're focused on compliance instead of setting the stage for the customer to construct great experiences. Over here, the dynamic balance is that the student who is the product, who is the producer, who sets the stage for the customer to construct great experiences. So when they graduate, they got a skill.
Right.
The employer is loving it because, wow, we got somebody who can actually fix an air conditioner.
They can do something.
But the government shut it all down.
But this one down here, you got to tell them everything.
You got to tell them everything. You got to follow the script. And so the issue is the government does not know about this, and after 4.5 months with the VA and the government, they have no causes for shutting down the school. They have no reason to do what they did. And we're in court. And so we're trying to figure out, give us why you did what you did. Well, they thought it was fraud because I've talked to other schools who have 18-month programs, and they said that's a fraud. You can't do that. Well, you can do this if you make sure the producer, which is the captain of the ship, the owner of that brain, is there in the barrel. If you got consciousness in that barrel, you can do amazing things. But over here, we're killing the consciousness of the child.
And they won't do it in 18 months.
You can't. Well, you can have it 36 months. You're still not learning.
Still not going to produce.
Yeah, because over here,
good apples.
Oh yeah, over here, the instructors had world knowledge of how to fix air conditioning. Over here, they're just fundamentally they don't have that extrinsic knowledge of how to fix air conditioning. They just teach theory. And so fundamentally, you go to a marketing school, and the guy who teaches it, can't market. Go to business schools, and the people that enter in the school, they're not the ones doing business. They're in there teaching business. Well, there's a difference between being able to acquire knowledge and take a test and be able to apply knowledge and knock somebody's socks off.
That's the difference.
That's the difference.
That's the difference right there. So, I agree, 100.
So basically, the issue is systems. We got bad apple barrels. Good apple barrels, bad apple barrels. So if you want to fix the problem with the NRA, let's focus on the the apple barrels. And quit
Improve the quality
of the
of the
educational experience.
Yes.
And so there you got to make sure they think for themselves. That kid that had this, that gun that shot all those other fellow students, fundamentally has never been able to think for himself because he's never been in an apple barrel that allowed him to think for himself. His whole life, he has been in apple barrels that extrinsic systems think for him. Just like imagine somebody smokes cigarettes. Is the guy who's smoking thinking for himself? No, the cigarette company is thinking on his behalf.
And to keep him hooked.
And got him hooked.
Yep.
And that's how you do it.
Wow.
You got systems out there that's greater system of shame, guilt, apathy, grief is what dictated that kid to do what he did. Now, if you raise that kid in love, joy, and peace and enlightenment,
And that would happen.
it would never happen because fundamentally we would focus on developing skills within the individual. Over here, the whole system says we're not trying to create skills. We're trying to create a robot and automate and to go work in a factory somewhere. And
Keep them trail horses coming.
yeah, keep the trail horses. Trail horses, they get up here. Instead of going up here like a butterfly, they come on back and start over. They just keep circling.
Right.
So basically, this is a locust over here. Over here is a honeybee. And if you kill all the honeybees, 70% of all the flowers die. All right, so we got to start asking questions. What kind of apple barrels are we going to create? So here, all you have to do is, you can't solve this by trying to solve this problem. You got to destroy this barrel and create a completely different barrel.
I agree.
With different dynamic balances, identify the customer, which is the hiring community. The student is the product, but you got to save the producer of the product, which is consciousness within the individual. Over here, you get to think for yourself. You self-govern, you self-direct, you self-learn. Over here, they kill the captain because fundamentally the system will think for you. It'll tell you what to do. You got to follow the script. So over here, the system will think on your behalf. And so what they're trying to do is produce a product for the guy over here who wears the boots and spurs that's looking for somebody to wear a saddle bottom a bit that they can tell what to do.
Yes.
I'm just saying that job is not going to be there.
Man.
Is that good?
That's very good.
It was worth coming to Taco Bell.
Yeah, it was worth coming to Taco Bell. In fact, I need to take this with me too.
Yeah, this is yours. You want me to sign it?
Yeah.
What's the date? Through 1918.
Name is Internal Freedom.
Yeah, Internal Freedom.
You have a website?
Not yet.
Okay. So if they need information on Internal Freedom, what do they do?
You call me.
Okay. 469-446-8230. Got it.